Have you ever been recovering from an illness and wanted advice about how to get better? In this video, I'm sharing a tarot spread that I consulted to help me heal from a respiratory infection, in addition to seeking medical advice. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's video, we'll be using a 3-card spread to answer the question, how do I heal my lungs? I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there is a link below. Here's the situation. I am now in week 5 of a respiratory infection that led to severe asthma. I've had asthma since I was a child and frequently got serious respiratory infections up into my 30s that included hospitalizations. But then I had a 15-year period of being fine, so this was an unwelcome surprise. My husband and daughter developed coughs before I got sick. So I was surrounded by sick people and my luck ran out and I woke up with bronchitis. The timing was lousy as I was leaving to visit my parents in Canada 3 days later and was worried I'd end up in the hospital during that trip. I immediately went to urgent care, explained my history, and asked to be treated aggressively. I returned home with prescriptions for antibiotics and steroids and expected the medication to knock it out of me quickly. That did not happen. 3 days later, I drove up to Canada. It's a 14 to 16-hour drive in each direction. I drove by myself and was so exhausted that I did nothing during my visit except take Sudafed and sit in a chair in my mother's family room. By the time I got home, I was worse than when I started and went to see the asthma specialist. 5 weeks have now passed and I've been on a heavy-duty cocktail of drugs that has included prednisone tablets, antibiotics, and inhaled steroids. I am improving, but it has been much slower than I hoped, so I decided to consult the tarot cards and see what I could do to heal my lungs. I will be using a 3-card spread. The first card is about the situation, which is the state of my lungs. The second card is about what I should do, and the third card is about what I should not do. So here we go. The first card is about the situation, and I pulled the Page of Cups. Pages are the children of the deck. I found this interesting because my current difficulties breathing reminded me a lot of my respiratory issues as a child. My childhood asthma had a lot of causes, including an allergy to animal dander, which was a big issue since we had cats and a dog in my household. The Page of Cups also represents a youthful spirit who is creative, imaginative, and intuitive. This also made me think of myself as a child. I was incredibly creative and my interests included writing, playing the piano and guitar, sewing, and a lot more. Basically, I lived in my head and wasn't big on reality. Looking back, I can see that I was extremely sensitive and intuitive, but that was definitely considered to be a negative when I was growing up. I didn't talk to a fish, but I felt like our family cat was my best friend. Water represents emotions, and we can see that the page has his back to his emotions. He is also standing on a stage, and we can consider him to be performing. I felt like this captured my situation as a child as well. Now I would describe myself as an old soul, but at the time I felt like I was very weird and I didn't know why. I tried to play the role of someone who appeared normal, and to do that, I needed to turn my back on my feelings. So what can I conclude about my current lung issues? It is reminding me of my problems breathing as a child and how scared and powerless I felt. As a kid, I tried to pretend that I was okay and just kept going. And that's exactly what happened with my visit to Canada. I told myself I would be okay, ignored my emotions, and decided to just power through and not disappoint anyone by postponing my visit. Card number 2 is Do This. I got the Knight of Wands reversed. Knights are all about taking action, and so is the suit of wands. So in this upright position, we have a very focused individual who is all about adventure, passion, and moving forward. From a health standpoint, the Knight of Wands has an active lifestyle, lots of physical strength, and if injured, he would likely regain his health quickly. In the reverse position, the Knight of Wands can represent the opposite. It can represent someone who is exercising too much and has become burnt out, someone who is not focusing on their health, and somebody who is making impulsive decisions, as well as somebody who will take a long time to regain their health. I am reading this card as a warning that I will need to step back and really consider what my next move will be. I think it will be a long recovery and there will not be a quick fix. I think respiratory issues have limited my physical strength and I need to pay attention to what my body can realistically do and not get too impatient. Rather than charging ahead, I need to rest. When the Knight of Wands is in the upright position, he is all about physical action. I believe that the message of the reversed card is that my recovery needs to focus on non-physical elements of my being, which are my emotions, my connection with spirit, and resting. I don't think it's any coincidence that my lung issues surfaced just prior to visiting my parents. I hadn't seen them in almost a year, and my dad's health had deteriorated considerably. He is not the strong man that I used to know, and actually did not even know who I was. The whole experience was stressful and sad. I've been around the metaphysical community long enough to know that lung issues are often about grief, and I believe that my visit made my lung issues worse because I was trying to stuff down my emotions when what I really needed to do was stop suppressing my feelings and grieve how I felt about my father's health. I also think that this is a message to not make impulsive decisions about what to do next. I really want to charge forward and find some kind of immediate solution for what's going on, and I don't think that's the right approach. This card tells me that I need to be patient, take my time, and consider the physical, emotional, and spiritual solutions to my respiratory issues. Card number 3 is Don't Do This, and I got the Lovers reversed. In the upright Lovers card, we see the Archangel Raphael blessing the couple on the card. It's interesting that Archangel Raphael is known as the angel of healing and is the patron saint of people in the medical profession. So I'm doing a medical reading, and here we have an angel who brings people closer to God so that they can experience physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. It is also interesting that Raphael is sometimes depicted with a fish, which represents how he used parts of a fish in his healing work. I thought this was so interesting because the Page of Cups is holding a fish, and this helps link the two cards. I've linked to an article on the Archangel Raphael in the comments if you'd like to learn more. In the reverse position, I have to assume that Raphael represents the opposite of healing. So I consulted a thesaurus, and that includes words like creating damage, wounds, atrophy, collapse, illness, disease, and harm. I interpret this to mean that to recover, I need to not do things that make my health worse. And this might include avoiding people who are false gods, such as people who are selling cure-alls on YouTube or Amazon that are not legitimate. This is good advice because I have to admit scrolling through Amazon looking for supplements that will improve my immune system, even though I'm not convinced that they would help. But I'm feeling a little desperate at this point. In the reverse position, the people are above the angel. And I'm thinking that this means that a lot of my healing will be based on internal work and not provided by someone or something else. Another interpretation of the Lover's card is that it is about balance, well-being, and wholeness in all areas of your life, including health, money, and relationships. So in the reverse position, the Lover's card can indicate a lack of balance relating to money, relationships, and health. Since this reading is specifically about health, lack of balance would include giving in to unhealthy desires, taking bad advice, or experiencing a high level of stress, all things that would put more stress on my respiratory system. So I interpret the third card to mean that, as I recover, I need to avoid things that will make my mental, physical, and spiritual health worse. This includes taking advice from people whose goal is to earn a profit, whether or not their products or services will help me. So let's summarize. What do these cards tell me about how to heal my lungs? The first card is about the situation, and I pulled the Page of Cups. This card told me that things got worse because I was repeating a childhood pattern of discounting how sick I was. Instead of resting and recovering, I ignored my emotions and my physical health and continued with a very taxing trip because I didn't want to disappoint anyone. The second card is Do This. I got the Knight of Wands reversed. I think there are two messages. One is that I need to stop suppressing my feelings and deal with my grief around my father's health. And the second thing I need to do is to be patient and take my time looking for solutions. Card number 3 is Don't Do This. and I got the lovers reversed. And the message is that I need to not do anything that will make my health worse by looking for quick fixes such as healing potions on Amazon. Instead, a lot of my healing will be based on internal work and not provided by something outside myself. I need to avoid anything that takes away from balance in my life and increases my stress level. I wanted to make 2 comments about this reading. First of all, I've done several readings about my lungs and chose not to post them because I found them incredibly difficult to interpret for myself. I'm really not sure why, except that I don't have enough objectivity to read the cards. I went back to this a few times and I'm not certain that I'm completely getting what the cards are telling me this time. However, I certainly feel that this is sound advice that I will take to heart and I wanted to share. Secondly, I followed up with my asthma specialist and realized that I am in for a very long recovery. As I film this video, I am now in week 7 of dealing with this. I am better, but still not well. I am finished with the oral antibiotics and oral prednisone, but I'm still inhaling an alarming amount of steroids with the breathing machine. The doctor pointed out that I likely have another 2 months before I'm completely recovered, which was a much longer timeline than I wanted to hear. However, the last time I had respiratory issues, I was in my 40s, and I am now in my 60s, and the asthma specialist thoughtfully pointed out that recovery takes longer as you get older. So there's that. I hope that this video gave you some ideas that you can apply to your tarot practice when you're doing health readings. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you learned. And if you're not already a subscriber, I'd love to have you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss anything. I'll see you next time.